Hi guys, in this video I'd like to discuss the keto flu. What is it? Why does it come about, and how do we hopefully alleviate some of those symptoms? I think whenever somebody embarks on the ketogenic lifestyle at first, man, it can be pretty intimidating. You're getting rid of a lot of foods that you've grown up enjoying and loving, only to feel pretty crummy for quite a while when you first start off on this type of an eating program. And the reason we feel pretty crummy has to do with dehydration and a massive, outflow of our minerals. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Whenever we eat carbohydrates have what's called a high osmotic pull. And basically all that means is as the carbs are being stored within our muscles and our liver, they have a high osmotic pull. They draw water in with it. But the exact opposite is also true. Whenever we follow or decide to embark on a ketogenic lifestyle, we're cutting out our carbohydrates. So as our carb stores are slowly starting to fall and exiting and being utilized for energy, water is basically being expelled. And that's why sometimes when people first start on a ketogenic diet, they notice this nice drop on the scale. Guys, it's not body fat. That's primarily a loss of water. So as we're slowly dehydrating slightly and flushing out minerals out of our body, a whole slew of symptoms can kind of arise. We can feel nauseated, extreme lethargy, cramping can become an issue. Just like the name implies, keto flu, it almost feels like you're experiencing flu-like symptoms. But there are ways to help kind of alleviate that to some degree. Number one is obviously hydration. Stay very, very hydrated. Drink lots and lots of water. They always say take your body weight, cut it in half. That's the minimum number of ounces of water you want to intake. I'm a bigger believer in quite a bit more than that. Next are some pretty key minerals: sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Bone broth is rich in all of those minerals, so you can consume bone broth, or you can add a little additional salt to your food. You can add salt to your water. You can take it supplementally. That's what I do. I take extra magnesium and potassium in supplement form. But I really load up on those and make sure I'm hydrated. That seems to really help with minimizing some of the keto flu-like effects. But also, I make sure that when I'm having those lulls, that transition period where I'm about to enter ketosis, I can feel a pretty good fatigue. Caffeine always helps me through that. Caffeine has really helped me through a lot of those times. What's interesting though is and I can remember back years ago when I first tried a ketogenic diet, I followed a bodybuilding diet by Dan Duchaine called Body Opus. And Body Opus was a pretty extreme diet and established ketosis fairly rapidly. And I remember the first time going through it, I'm like, wow, this feels horrible. I do not like this. But what's interesting is many years later, I've noticed I enter a ketogenic state much, much quicker. The symptoms are far less. My body actually enjoys being in a ketogenic state. I feel better, like I alluded to in the previous video. I have more mental clarity. I have more energy. But that wasn't the case in the very beginning. I'm glad I didn't give up on the ketogenic lifestyle, which would have been easy to do, because I'm going to tell you what, right now I felt terrible, but I also really didn't know what I was doing. Many years later, through experimentation, study, and working with many others, I've really learned ways of alleviating a lot of those symptoms. And again, it harkens back to hydration and mineral intake. And the fact that now that I've done this so many times where I've kicked in and kicked out of ketosis, I enter into the ketogenic state much quicker. And you will too. So I encourage you, don't give up on it. If you feel terrible, don't worry. You will get through that. But definitely hydrate, definitely include additional minerals into your diet. And that will really help alleviate some of those symptoms. Also too, when you feel that where there's that transition period where you're really not burning carbohydrates very well because they're almost non-existent, they're never completely gone, but getting low, and you're about to enter into a ketogenic state where you're converting your fat into ketone bodies, there is that lull where you just don't feel good. The caffeine will definitely help with that. Some people lean on some BHB salts or keto salts. I'm not a fan of that, but for some it does help. Additional fats, I up my fats. I take some additional MCT oil. You can do it in a soft gel form if you don't prefer the liquid. But I do want to caution you on MCTs. MCTs are wonderful. It stands for medium chain triglyceride. They are an energy source. But if you've never used MCT oils before, and you take quite a few of them at one time, they can definitely cause some gastrointestinal problems. So if you do try MCT oils, please start off with smaller amounts and gradually work your way up, because that's not a fun issue, if you will. So that definitely helps. I really hope these tips help you. In the next video, I'm going to give you some what I call keto hacks, which are some ways to basically lower your carbohydrates a little quicker, the stored carbohydrates, the glycogen within your muscles and liver, so you enter a ketogenic state faster. So again, I really encourage you to try this type of eating. If you've tried other diets and they didn't work for you, again, I'm not going to sit here and say keto is the one and only way. I do enjoy the diet, and I think it works very well for quite a few people. So my goal is just to educate you and give you some quick, easy tips to help you embark on this journey if you so choose. All right, be blessed, everybody. Oh, gratuitous bicep shot. Take care. Bye-bye.